Here I'm Shubhendu Ghosh with my colleague Amritpal Singh. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Maldives, the second leg of his two-nation visit. He was accorded the guest of honor at the Republic Square in Male a short while ago.
That's right. The Prime Minister met with the Maldivian Prime Minister, Dr. Mohammad Muizzu. Both leaders will be shortly addressing the press. They've just concluded their delegation-level talks, and during the press statements, a number of agreements and MOUs are expected to be signed between the two sides. We'll bring you all that live.
And remember, Prime Minister Modi will be the guest of honor at the Independence Day celebrations of the island nation. That is tomorrow. Over the next couple of hours or so, we'll talk about the various aspects of this historic visit. Let's begin.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired delegation-level talks with the Maldivian President Mohammad Muizzu on Friday during the two-day visit, state visit to the island, the archipelago. The talks focused on development cooperation, economic cooperation, along with security, safety, business investment, and climate change. The Prime Minister, accompanied by External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, of course the Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri, held delegation-level talks with the Maldivian side, which included President Muizzu and members of his cabinet, as well as senior officials from their Foreign Affairs Ministry.
And earlier, Prime Minister Modi held a one-on-one meeting with Maldivian President Mohammad Muizzu, discussed issues of mutual interest. The leaders jointly reviewed the progress of the comprehensive economic security maritime partnership that was put in place last year between India and Maldives. Earlier today, Prime Minister Narendra Modi landed at the Vellana International Airport in Male to a ceremonial welcome. In a special gesture, President Mohammad Muizzu and his cabinet members in person received Prime Minister Modi at the airport. Prime Minister received a warm and enthusiastic welcome from the Indian diaspora as he arrived at Male. Waving flags and chanting slogans, members of the community gathered in large numbers to greet Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
And the Prime Minister, during his state visit to Maldives, he's on a two-day state visit, as we told you earlier. He signed the visitor's book, marking a significant moment in India-Maldives relations. Prime Minister Modi will participate in the 60th Independence Day celebrations of Maldives as the guest of honor on 26th of July, that's tomorrow.
And earlier today, Prime Minister Modi received a ceremonial welcome and guard of honor for Prime Minister Modi. This was at Male in Maldives. School children performed a vibrant cultural display to honor the Prime Minister, showcasing the nation's rich heritage. In a And in a ceremonial gesture, Prime Minister Modi was also accorded a 21-gun salute, symbolizing strong bilateral ties between India and Maldives. The visit underscores deepening partnership, with discussions expected to focus on enhancing cooperation in trade, tourism, regional security, and more.
And the Prime Minister also met the officials of the Maldivian government at the Republic Square in Male. And in a vibrant display of India's cultural heritage, members of the Indian community in Maldives welcomed Prime Minister Narendra Modi by performing traditional chow dance in Eastern India. In a post on X, Prime Minister Modi said that the Indian diaspora plays a crucial role in furthering India-Maldives friendship. The Prime Minister also expressed happiness to interact with the members of the diaspora and thanked them for the warm welcome. This is the Prime Minister's third visit to the Maldives and the first visit by a head of state or government to Maldives during the presidency of Mohammad Muizzu. Prime Minister Modi's visit reflects the importance India attaches to its maritime neighbor, the Maldives, which continues to hold a special place in India's neighborhood first policy and Vision Mahasagar. This year, India and the Maldives are observing and marking 60 years of the establishment of diplomatic relations.
Display of Indian cultural traditions to welcome Prime Minister Modi. As we speak, the delegation-level talks are on between Prime Minister Modi and President Mohammad Muizzu. Amrit, let us invite our guests who are joining us this evening to take forward the conversation. Let me welcome Ambassador Veena Sikri, former senior diplomat, also Rami Niranjan Desai, Distinguished Fellow, India Foundation. Good evening and welcome, both of you. Ambassador Sikri, let me come to you first, ma'am. How do you see this positive recalibration of ties between India and Maldives and this visit of Prime Minister Modi?
Well, I think first and foremost, it is a tremendous signature success of India's neighborhood first foreign policy. I think the way in which India has conducted its diplomacy with Maldives and of course with all our neighbors, we attach equal importance to them. Small neighbors or big neighbors, they're all the same for us. We are all living in the same neighborhood. And the way that we have conducted our diplomacy with Maldives, despite the setback, as you know, of course, that President Muizzu during his campaign for the presidency had this India out policy. And immediately after he became president, some of his ministerial members made some totally unacceptable and wrong remarks about India and about our leadership. But immediately after that, we saw a response, from the people of India who said, well, a country who talks like that about India, we don't want to go there as tourists. So there was a kind of a cancellation of a lot of visits. But there was a response from the people of Maldives also, from their tour associations, from their industry tourism association, saying that, look, we want good neighborhood relations with India. And India is essential for Maldives' economic success and continued prosperity. So whether it is water, whether it is construction material, whether it is tourists, there's a huge interaction and a huge, I would say, symbiotic friendship and mutually beneficial growth. And I think that the way in which we have reacted with great patience and calm, we know that our external affairs minister has visited there. We know that President Muizu himself visited India twice last year, first for the third time swearing in of Prime Minister Modi, and later on in October 2024 for a bilateral visit. And in the October 2024 visit, there was a very important document agreed upon between India and Maldives, which reflects a shared view. This is the joint vision for a comprehensive economic and maritime security partnership between India and Maldives. And this is really an important outcome of President Muizu's visit, that we were able to achieve the unity of views on these very critical subjects, because we do know that Maldives has a very strategic position in the Indian Ocean and in India's neighborhood. It is a string of islands. The very word Maldives means, it's a Sanskrit origin word, which means a garland of islands, and it has a huge economic zone. And, it's very crucial for the entry to the Indian Ocean and for the remaining part of the Indian Ocean, and of course, going into the Bay of Bengal as well. So for maritime security, for our Sagar program and our Mahasagar program, I think the good relations with Maldives is very important, and India and Maldives were able to find this balance in this important document adopted last October, less than a year ago. And this time in the talks which are going on, as you are showing in your visuals, I'm sure that both countries will be reviewing the implementation of this program, the specific areas which have been adopted. In addition, India has done a lot of massive contribution to the infrastructure development of Maldives. There is the Greater Malay Connectivity Project, there is the Uthuru Harbour project, and there are many other programs that are of great benefit. We have, got a number of high impact community development projects targeting small villages and small islands, where we directly reach out to the community people. And that has been very valuable to the people of Maldives, because, and even though in the first year of President Muizu's presidency, the number of these community impact projects went down, but then it came up again between last year and this year. So now again, we are back on that community development project. So we've been able to, chalk out this mutually beneficial program, which has contributed to rebuilding the trust between India and Maldives and rebuilding the people-to-people relationship.
Okay.
And I think the entire cabinet of Maldives is agreed on this.
Okay. Let me bring in Rami Niranjan Desai into the discussion. Rami, am I pronouncing your name right? It's Rami, right?
Rami, yes,
All right.
absolutely.
Okay.
First.
Rami, so Ambassador Sikri was saying that, why Maldives is important for us. It's our neighbor, it's in our neighborhood, and the focus of this government is neighborhood first. And then from a strategic point of view, it's important. That is why we are doing what we are doing there in developmental assistance, cooperation, etc. How do the Maldivians look at India? What do they look at us like? Or how do they view us?
So, good evening, first of all, Subhendu and Amrik. It's great to be on the show, and alongside my dear friend, Ambassador Sikri, who's pointed out, these very, very important points. And you have a good question here. But before I come to that, let me just say as an opening that, I think Ambassador Sikri's made a really good point. This visit, apart from marking all these important bilateral dialogues that they're going to have, it also is a pointer to how mature our foreign policy is, our diplomacy is. We didn't get carried away with any anti-India sentiment. We realized that this is a problem that we are going to face ever so often, because India is an emerging power, has a great influence on the region, and oppositions usually tend to use it to gain some sort of nationalist sentiment on ground. We realize that, and therefore we are back on this very important relationship. And like you mentioned, it's not just the neighborhood first policy, the Mahasagar policy, why it's important, but it's also because India has a huge amount of investment in Maldives. Ambassador Sikri's pointed out a few of them, but apart from infrastructure, connectivity projects, water and sanitation is provided by India in like 34 islands. ADU development projects, airport redevelopment projects. These are really important projects that impact day-to-day lives of anybody living in the Maldives. Therefore, I think what Maldives realizes and people in Maldives realize that India's relationship with any of its neighborhood countries is never transactional like it is with other countries. That it is genuine, it is a first responder sort of a relationship. And we've seen this over and over again, whether it was a couple of years ago when we provided vaccines, we provided even measles vaccines, we've helped them, revamp their economy time and again, even as far back as 88, after the coup, it was India that were the first responders. So I think that resonates with people on the ground, and that brings us a lot of goodwill. And that goes a longer way than a transactional relationship. So, I was talking about the measles vaccine, it might seem like a very small thing, but when India has a swift dispatch of 30,000 vaccines that go to Maldives, it affects every child on ground. So therefore, I think this sort of comprehensive assistance, and it's not just with Maldives. We saw very recently in Myanmar post the earthquake, we not only were first responders, but we also had rescue teams on ground within 24 hours. So all of this across our neighborhood, America, I have to say, brings us a lot of goodwill. And that's what I think, and I think I'm correct in hoping, is going to take this relationship a long way.
Ambassador Sikri, do you agree with this assessment of Rami that there is a lot of goodwill in the Maldivians for us?
Yes, absolutely. I fully support what Rami has said, and it's great to be with her on the show and with all of you. And I think that this effort at the people to people to have these, as Rami mentioned, so many important projects. The vaccine, measles vaccine is very important. The Maitri vaccine during COVID is very important. All these impact the people. They don't forget. And they know that this kind of help that they're getting from India cannot come from anywhere else. China, for example, as I said, India gives drinking water and construction materials to Maldives. And China at one point told Maldives, oh, we will send you water. We will send you Tibet water. And actually 2 or 3 shiploads of Tibet water did come all the way from China to the Maldives. But this is unsustainable. You cannot continue it indefinitely, and you cannot certainly replace the kind of day-to-day cooperation that India has built up with the Maldives. And the people of Maldives realize this more than anybody else. So, and China, on the other hand, never bothers about the people of the country. They only go to the top people, and they, prefer to influence them, and through them influence all policies. But it just doesn't work. We've seen the same thing in Sri Lanka, that when Sri Lanka was in the depths of their economic despair and economic downturn, China turned its face away. China refused to help them. They refused to reschedule. They refused to give additional monies. But India came in and gave almost more than $4 billion US. We helped them with getting the IMF loans passed, and we helped everything. And in that, even in the IMF loans, China was, making a fuss on restructuring their debt with Sri Lanka. But India pushed it all through. And similarly with Maldives, when they were in economic doldrums and they had major economic problems, we've given them, a major help in terms of loans and credits. And also we're now thinking of working out with them a rupee settlement agreement. They don't have to waste their foreign exchange on the day-to-day trade, and it can be done in rupees, and it can be settled maybe against the tourist payments and so on. This can be a very interesting example of how you can have a mutually beneficial settlement. We used to have, India has a lot of experience in this. We used to have a very strong rupee settlement, rupee-ruble settlement agreement with Russia, with the former Soviet Union at that time. And we could replicate this experience with countries, important neighbors like Maldives. So I do hope there will be some announcement on this as well during the visit, and as a result of the talks that you are showing on your visuals.
Right. Rami Niranjan Desai, Shubhendu here. We talk about the pragmatic foreign policy presented by both India and Maldives. Despite the strain that we'd witnessed in the past months, we see that India has increased the development assistance to Maldives. If you look at the budget of this year, by about 50%, from 400 crore rupees to 600 crore rupees. And the export quota has also been raised by some percentage. And today, an important symbolism, we see President Mohammad Muizzu present at the airport in person with his entire cabinet to welcome Prime Minister. These symbolism and these gestures together show how pragmatism has been chosen by both India and Maldivian leadership.
Absolutely. You're really correct in saying that, using the word pragmatism. I think it's very important to recognize this because it's very easy nowadays in the era of social media, a lot of hyperbole that we see, to get carried away by general, excitement. And I think the government didn't allow itself to do that and continued, people-to-people outreach, the development budget increasing. All of this was aimed at reviving the goodwill, and I think they have done that. And I think it's come at a very, very critical point. Ambassador Sikri said, a lot of important things are going to be discussed, maybe the FTA, the comprehensive economic partnership, the maritime security partnership, all of this is going to be discussed. And this comes at a time when they've also signed an FTA with China. So in that background, I think we've moved swiftly, we've moved smartly, and I think this is a great moment of success of our foreign policy. I should also say that, this very anticipated launch of the Unified Payments Interface is going to be very, very important because it kind of is, even if it is, psychologically, it brings you closer to a country. Remember, post the unfortunate statements that were made in Maldives, we saw a 33% drop of tourism in Maldives. So I think, actions like this is going to give an impetus for tourism to again increase in the Maldives, for people and people-to-people connect, to strengthen. So I think we are going to see a lot of good things to come in the future. So I think,
Right.
we have to wait, watch what they announce and how far this, bilateral relationship goes.
Right. Ambassador Sikri, how did you view President Muizzu breaking the protocol to receive Prime Minister at the airport in person? What is the significance of such symbolism? And Prime Minister tomorrow is going to be the guest of honor at the Independence Day celebration, 60th Independence Day celebration. And earlier today, while engaging with one of our guests, he shared that India was one of the first countries to recognize independence of Maldives. So in that sense, a complete circle coming into place.
Yes, absolutely, because we are celebrating the observance of 60 years of India-Maldives relations, and it is the 60th Independence Day of Maldives. And the very special significance of this gesture is that this is the first time that Maldives has invited a foreign leader to participate in the Independence Day celebration. Right. So this is also a very, very special gesture. We keep talking about President Muizzu and the difficulty and his India Out campaign, but now see, just about 2 years into his presidency, he's inviting Prime Minister Modi as the guest of honor at this very special occasion, the 60th anniversary. And it's a very special gesture. And in keeping with that gesture, the president went to the airport. This, again, is always a very special gesture because nowadays in the tourism protocol, in the visit protocol, bilateral visit protocol of most countries, it is that, the head of the government or the head of the state does not necessarily have to go to the airport to receive the visiting dignitary. And there's normally a ceremonial welcome, either in the Republic Square or in any other special place. But this time, President Muizzu has broken this protocol and he's chosen to go to the airport to receive Prime Minister Modi. And this is really an indication to his own people of the importance he attaches to the visit. It's an indication to the people of India of the importance he attaches to the visit. And it's an indication to all others, including China, all around the world, to say that, look, I have invited Prime Minister Modi and I am giving him the very, very special place of the highest importance for us in the Maldives, that he will participate in the 60th Independence Day celebrations as a guest of honor. And in recognition of this, I'm going to the airport to receive him. So indeed, it's a very significant gesture and a message to our two countries and to the rest of the world of the importance. And it's a great, again, I would say, a great success for India's neighborhood first foreign policy. And I hope that after this visit and the decisions at this visit, it will only strengthen from day to day and month to month and year to year.
Okay, Ambassador Sikri, again, this is Amrit here. What could we expect the talks, at least on investment, Indian investments into Maldives and, cooperation in other areas like, say, renewable energy, etc.?
I think these sectors are very important. Climate change, renewable energy, environmental sustainability is the key buzzword for Maldives, as we know, because they are a very low-level situated country, and they very much fear the rising of the ocean levels as a result of climate change, and because they fear that many of the islands will go underwater. And we do know that a previous leader of the Maldives had actually even held an underwater cabinet meeting, to show their concern for environmental issues. So this issue of environment is very, very significant for Maldives. So I'm sure that India and Maldives will cooperate on this. And as part of this, I think renewable energy is very important. Solar energy, I think Maldives is very well situated to benefit from solar energy. And we have the International Solar Alliance, which India and France have led, and which is situated in India, and Maldives is very much going to benefit from this. And I think that this, we do expect a lot on this. I think we do expect a lot of statements on security issues, on maritime security, on cooperation, because one of the problems that Maldives is facing, and this is something that they have, it's a societal problem, but it's a very serious security issue also, the influence of drugs and radicalism in the Maldives. You have a lot of the Maldives youth totally affected by drugs, and they suspect that a lot of these drugs come from Pakistan, and there are also very radicalized clerics coming from Pakistan to spread Islam in the Maldives, and these are leading to a lot of radicalization among the youth of Maldives. So I think that Maldives themselves considers this to be one of their major problems, and as a result of drugs influence, you find the youth of Maldives, they cannot do many jobs, and sometimes labor is coming from other countries to work in the Maldives, from Bangladesh, from India, from other countries. So this is a very serious problem to get their youth de-radicalized, to get them better educated, to get them involved in economic enterprises. And I think India is ready to cooperate in this. But to do this kind of drugs interventionism and so on, you need a certain interoperability of the forces, because you do some maritime, the Coast Guards and so on, they have to work together, and they have to see how to intercept these drugs consignments and so on. So I do anticipate that there could be something on this, in the interest of maritime security, how our maritime forces will work together, maybe training for the Maldives people in Indian institutions, maybe joint exercises to see how to tackle these problems in real time. And, on drugs interventionism, India is facing this problem also. So we have a lot of experience on this that we can share with Maldives. So I think these issues of renewable energy, economic cooperation, certainly I do see as, coming in a big way, and many more projects being agreed upon, and a time frame being committed for their implementation. So I think these will be some of the very important aspects. And I think trade, of course, economics will include trade, but investment also. We do know that some leading Indian hoteliers are invested in the Maldives. They have set up some beautiful, resorts there. I would see some more of this perhaps happening because there's a great deal of interest in India to visit Maldives as a tourism destination. And I remember how we even helped the Maldives during COVID, when during COVID, tourism dropped from from an all-time high in the Maldives to practically zero.
Right.
And the Maldives economy had gone into the real doldrums. And so the Maldives Tourism Board and the India Tourism Board, they worked out some very interesting relaunch campaigns, and some distinguished Indian people, including film stars, they went to Maldives as tourists living in exclusion on an island, and this was, broadcast with a great deal of advertisement to the rest of the world. It showed that, look, Maldives, you can come, you can live on an island separately, you can be protected, even though it is COVID, you can come and have
Right.
a very secluded vacation. So all these ways, there's so many ways we're prepared to work together, and if the spirit of cooperation is there, and certainly President Muizu has shown the spirit of cooperation by inviting our Prime Minister
Right.
as a special guest of honor on the 60th Independence Day. So I do see this leading to a lot of further development of infrastructure projects, economic and trade cooperation, investment cooperation, security cooperation, maritime cooperation also.
Okay. Rami, what is the level of our maritime and defense cooperation with the Maldives? One. And second, what is their relationship with the Chinese when it comes to, say, defense cooperation or their ships porting in there?
So I think we have to recognize the fact that even during the last few years, when we saw some turbulence in the relationship, defense cooperation was not impacted. India did not use any sort of leverage, to maybe force Maldives to do something. India maintained the services of naval equipment, which it provides training. Almost 70% of naval training is in India from the Maldives, aircraft training, helping Maldives increase security capabilities. Now, anything to do with defense and security, the underlying foundation for it is trust. Will you send your own boots to China? You won't, because there is a deficit of trust, especially where training is involved or equipment is involved. So I think this is very telling of the kind of relationship and the trust that is enjoyed by Maldives and India, as opposed to any other country. And this continued over a period of time. So I think these are some of our most important factors in our defense cooperation. And of course, let me also say this, that defense cooperation is only one aspect. It's a very, very important aspect because it's Maldives, but it's only one aspect apart from economic assistance, because economic assistance is the pivot that any of this works on. In 2024, I think India provided almost $400 million in economic assistance. It gave a currency swap facility of about 3,000 crores to Maldives. These are the pivots that help build the foundational trust that I'm talking about, which allows the Maldives to have its personnel being trained in India, have its servicing of naval equipment happen by Indians, of even very high technology things like aircrafts. So I think this entire gamut that we have in front of us, that India and Maldives work on together, is what gives us an advantage over any other country. Of course, when we talk about these equations, again, we have to recognize the fact that these equations were not just a question of diplomacy, but they were also a question of tactical overtures by India to the Maldives. Like we've already mentioned, economic assistance and defense cooperation, but also development. It was, I think, only this year that India expanded the ferry service in Maldives. That also had a huge impact on security in the Maldives. Political dialogue. We had, very high-level core group political dialogues between the two countries, which were held in New Delhi, which were held in Malé this year. So I think all of this is going to pivot us to a stronger relationship than we have ever seen before. And I think the comparison to China is really not needed, even though, as you know very well, that when President Muizu came into power, he broke what had been historical informal protocol and didn't come to India, but went to China. Even while he did that, the fact of the matter remains that the relationship is transactional. May I also point
No,
out that
Rami, can I disagree with you on that? Relationship which Ambassador Sikri would, I hope, would vouch for. All relations between all nations are transactional. You do development assistance, you are geographically closer to them, you have your interests, they have their interests. When the interest aligns, your cooperation happens. So, as far as when we compare it with the Chinese, what is wrong if they take, I mean, if the Indians are giving them money and the Chinese who have deeper pockets, what should be their problem taking money from China or both?
No, there shouldn't be any problem. There isn't a problem with China giving them money. That's not my point. My point is that the tactical challenges that we had, we managed to overcome. Once you overcome challenges like this, relationship is bound to become stronger. Nobody can compete with China with the kind of transactions that they have. But the difference is that India also comes with this historical connect, which is seen as a people-to-people connect and not just a purely transactional connect.
Right.
So therefore, of course, we've seen in Sri Lanka also, they played the card of the Chinese coming in. But finally, what happened? Eventually in the economic downturn, like Ambassador Sikri pointed out, it was India that stepped up, equalizing the relationship. We've seen this happen in our neighborhood in Myanmar as well, where China tries to step in. But when it comes to an earthquake, India is the first responder.
Right.
Even China has more investments in Myanmar. So you'll see this happening all over the place. But India plays a good equalizer to any other expansionist agenda that there may be.
Right. Ambassador Sikri, if I were to sort of interpret the question that Amrit had put about where is the problem in Maldives' engagement with China, and therein, if you can inform our viewers also about the strategic significance of Maldives, whether it's geostrategic location closer to India in the Indian Ocean Arabian Sea region. What would you say about the significance that the island nation occupies in the current geopolitics?
Well, we've always said, whether it's Maldives, Bangladesh, Pakistan, anybody, that surely you can develop your relations with other countries as you wish. This is an independent choice that every country has. But for countries situated in our neighborhood, so close to us, there can be areas of such cooperation with China, for example, that impinge on India's security concerns. Now, say, for example, in Maldives too, it happened where there was a project that they were going to give to China, which is very near to the Indian, the islands very close to India. So we told the Maldives that, no, we don't want you to do that. Similarly, in Bangladesh, if you recall, the Chinese were trying to get a project on Tisa development, which would make them, to bring them to an area which is very, very close to the Indian border with Bangladesh, and of course, very close to the Chicken's Neck area also, the Siliguri corridor. So we clearly made our point absolutely crystal clear on these issues of security concern. So that is where it is that the trust is built up like this. And the way that President Muizu has respected India's security concerns are very important. And in Bangladesh also, I can say that it is Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina who respected India's security concerns, as against the previous regime of Prime Minister Khaleda Zia, who had given a complete free run to the Northeast Indian insurgent groups. And they were used with camps in Bangladesh and so on. So, the building up of mutual trust, this is absolutely the essential rock bottom foundation of any relationship, is mutual trust. And mutual
All right, Ambassador, I'll just stop you for a moment. Let's go over to Mali, where the two sides are signing, Dr. Jaishankar and the Foreign Minister of Maldives exchanging agreements which are signed between the two sides. With both Prime Minister Modi and President Muizu in the background. We are awaiting the details of the MOUs that have been signed.
Visuals of agreements being exchanged between India and Maldives, also signed that the delegation-level talks have concluded. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Maldivian President Mohammad Muizu Yukon, and we see those visuals of customary handshake between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Muizu. And we see the details of the agreements that have been signed as well, development partnership, particularly in terms of vehicles of different nature being provided by India to assist Maldives in their development journey. We also see visuals of those buses and transport and construction vehicles.
To India on 8th January 2025. We remain ever grateful to the people and the government of India for this generous support.
The Maldives and India share a bond rooted in trust, friendship, and enduring partnership. Today marks a proud and defining moment in this journey of friendship, one that elevates India-Maldives relations to new heights through people-centric development. Backed by the Government of India and financed under the Exim Bank of India's line of credit, the 4,000 social housing units project in Horimale Phase 2 stands as a symbol of this collaboration. Construction of the project began in 2021. Since then, key milestones have been achieved. Today, the project is complete and the majority of units are ready for handover. Executed by NBCC India Limited and Kalpataru Projects International Limited, this project is a testament to cross-border collaboration and shared commitment. We extend our sincere gratitude to all stakeholders and reaffirm the enduring friendship between the people of Maldives and the people of India.
Today marks the completion of a design and build of construction of roads and drainage system in Addu city. This initiative was financed through a line of credit facility extended by the Exim Bank of India under the purview of the Government of India. The project has been overseen by the Ministry of Construction, Housing and Infrastructure. The construction of roads and drainage system was carried out by FCONS Infrastructure Limited. The project management consultancy work was managed by a joint venture between Assystem India Limited and Leah Associates South Asia Private Limited JV LLP. The broad scope of the road project includes new construction of a paver block asphalt pavement road for a length of 40 kilometers, roads spread over entire project area which comprises 6 districts namely Hitadu, Maradu, Maradu Fedu, Fedu, Huludu and Medu. Completion of approximately 60 kilometers of unpaved roads with a cement stabilized base. Resurfacing of 3.4 kilometers of existing asphalt roads. Drainage including pumping station accessories for all districts. Street lighting, a CCTV camera and other road safety measures for all islands. A new 4-lane detour link road measuring 1.463 kilometers in length was constructed alongside the existing connection between Hanken and Maradu.
Where once there were flood-prone areas and impassable roads, there's now reliable infrastructure, making daily commutes safer, faster, and more accessible for residents, schools, and local businesses. Street lighting, CCTV, and improved stormwater management have enhanced safety for the public.
A new chapter in sports development unfolds today. The newly developed facilities reflect the enduring friendship and growing cooperation between India and Maldives. With generous support from the Government of India, these facilities are a symbol of shared commitment to youth empowerment, health, and unity through sports. These facilities are more than just bricks and mortar. They are arenas of inspiration where dreams will take shape, talent will be nurtured, and future champions will rise. This initiative strengthens not only our physical infrastructure, but also the deep-rooted ties between our two nations, grounded in mutual respect, shared values, and a vision of progress for all. From the fields of friendship to the courts of cooperation, this may be the first of many victories we achieve together.
In Attu City Hitadu, a new facility marks an important step forward for the Maldives fisheries sector. Supported by the Government of India, the Attu Neighbourhood Fish Processing Facility is helping strengthen local industry and regional ties. Fish is sourced directly from local fishermen, so the value created here stays in the community. The factory is equipped with modern tools, a dry and fresh fish processing plant, a 20-ton ice plant, 30-ton cold storage, and key support facilities. A future expansion phase is planned to include a fish processing facility compliant with EU export standards. Now fully operational and meeting HACCP standards, it's ready to produce quality fish products for local use and export. This is more than just fish processing. It's also about creating jobs, supporting families, and building resilience within the community. The Attu Hitadu Fish Processing Facility, a real example of partnership and progress, built with the people, for the people.
So that was a film being played there in Male about the assistance that India or India's cooperation with the Maldives.
His remarks.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. His Excellency Shri Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of the Republic of India, distinguished members of delegations, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you all. It is a great pleasure to welcome Prime Minister Modi and his delegation to the Maldives. The Prime Minister's visit coincides with two cherished occasions. Tomorrow, His Excellency will join me in the 60th Independence Day celebrations of the Maldives. Today, we have jointly released a commemorative stamp to mark the 60th anniversary of establishment of formal diplomatic relations between the Maldives and India. This afternoon, Prime Minister Modi and I had extensive discussions. We reflected on the successes of our shared development journey, and we charted a clear path for future cooperation. Expanding our cooperation, Prime Minister Modi and I had the honor of witnessing the exchange of 4 MOUs and 3 agreements on several key areas. Among these include a line of credit agreement of $565 million US. This LOC will be utilized for priority projects of my government across key sectors including defense, sports, healthcare, education, and housing. I'm also pleased to announce the initiation of negotiations for a free trade agreement between India and the Maldives. This landmark initiative marks a significant step forward in strengthening our economic partnership. We appreciate the pivotal role played by India in supporting the Maldives to manage economic and liquidity challenges through $400 million US currency swap facility and interest-free 1-year rollover of the Treasury bill in May 2025. India's continued assistance to the Maldives through the export of essential commodities is a key facet of our bilateral cooperation under the long-standing trade agreement. Today, we inaugurated a key project funded under the India's line of credit assistance, Attu Roads project, Prime Minister and I reviewed the progress of ongoing line of credit projects and high-impact community development projects. Our flagship Greater Malay Connectivity Project, once completed, will stand as a lasting symbol of enduring partnership between the Maldives and India. Later today, Prime Minister and I will be inaugurating Dosimena building, developed with Indian grant assistance. This assistance is a testament to this partnership. I express my sincere appreciation to India for the provision of 72 vehicles to the Maldives National Defence Force. The handover of the remaining 3,300 housing flats from the 4,000 housing units project marks a major step forward in my government's policy in addressing housing needs across the Maldives. I thank the government of India for its role as the Maldives' principal partner in the health sector. The donation of medical cubes is a critical asset for a geographically dispersed nation like the Maldives. India remains a key source market for Maldivian tourism. We discussed ways to expand this vital sector through enhanced cooperation and connectivity, including commencement of direct flights to further enhance this connectivity. On environmental cooperation, we explored opportunities for technical support in capacity building, in waste management, biodiversity conservation, renewable energy, and water and sanitation. The Maldives will extend its full support for India as the host of COP33. We confidently recognize India's capability to lead global efforts towards a successful and impactful outcome. Our people-to-people connections have long been the foundation of the relationship between the Maldives and India. Through cultural exchanges, tourism, education, and familial bonds, we continue to strengthen mutual understanding and goodwill between our nations. Looking ahead, we are fully committed to further strengthen our cooperation with India across a broad range of sectors through exchange of high-level visits. Prime Minister Modi, I once again thank you for your commitment to enhancing the close ties between the Maldives and India. I wish both our nations continued growth, prosperity, and harmony. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. May I now invite Prime Minister Narendra Modi to deliver his remarks.
Your Excellency, राष्ट्रपति जी, दोनों देशों के डेलीगेट्स, मीडिया के साथियों, नमस्कार। सबसे पहले सभी भारतवासियों की ओर से मैं राष्ट्रपति जी और मालदीव के लोगों को स्वतंत्रता के 60 वर्षों की ऐतिहासिक वर्षगांठ पर हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं देता हूं। इस ऐतिहासिक अवसर पर गेस्ट ऑफ ऑनर के रूप में आमंत्रित करने के लिए मैं राष्ट्रपति जी का हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। इस साल भारत और मालदीव अपने राजनयिक संबंधों के भी 60 साल मना रहे हैं, परंतु हमारे संबंधों की जड़ें इतिहास से भी पुरानी है और समुद्र जितनी गहरी है। आज जारी किया गया डाक टिकट, जिसमें दोनों देशों की पारंपरिक नौकाएं हैं, दर्शाता है कि हम केवल पड़ोसी नहीं हैं, सहयात्री भी हैं। फ्रेंड्स, भारत मालदीव का सबसे करीबी पड़ोसी है। मालदीव भारत की नेबरहुड फर्स्ट पॉलिसी और महासागर विजन दोनों में एक अहम स्थान रखता है। भारत को मालदीव का सबसे भरोसेमंद मित्र होने पर भी गर्व है। आपदा हो या महामारी, भारत हमेशा फर्स्ट रिस्पॉन्डर बनकर साथ खड़ा रहा है। एसेंशियल कमोडिटीज उपलब्ध कराने की बात हो या कोविड के बाद अर्थव्यवस्था को संभालना, भारत ने हमेशा साथ मिलकर काम किया है। फॉर अस इट इज ऑलवेज फ्रेंडशिप फर्स्ट। फ्रेंड, पिछले साल अक्टूबर में राष्ट्रपति जी की भारत यात्रा के दौरान हमने व्यापक आर्थिक और समुद्री सुरक्षा साझेदारी का विजन साझा किया था। अब यह रियलिटी बन रहा है और उसी का परिणाम है कि हमारे संबंध नई ऊंचाइयों को छू रहे हैं। कई सारी परियोजनाओं का लोकार्पण संभव हुआ है। भारत के सहयोग से बनाए गए 4000 सोशल हाउसिंग यूनिट्स अब मालदीव में कई परिवारों के लिए नई शुरुआत बनेंगे, नया आशियाना होंगे। ग्रेटर माले कनेक्टिविटी प्रोजेक्ट, अडू रोड डेवलपमेंट प्रोजेक्ट और रीडेवलप किए जा रहे हनी माधु अंतर्राष्ट्रीय हवाई अड्डे से ये पूरा क्षेत्र एक महत्वपूर्ण ट्रांजिट और आर्थिक केंद्र बनकर उभरेगा। जल्द ही फेरी सिस्टम की शुरुआत से अलग अलग आइलैंड्स के बीच आवागमन और आसान होगा। उसके बाद आइलैंड्स के बीच दूरी जीपीएस से नहीं, सिर्फ फेरी टाइम से मापी जाएगी। हमारी डेवलपमेंट पार्टनरशिप को नई उड़ान देने के लिए हमने मालदीव के लिए $565 मिलियन यानी लगभग 5000 करोड़ रुपए की लाइन ऑफ क्रेडिट देने का निर्णय लिया है। यह मालदीव के लोगों की प्राथमिकताओं के अनुरूप यहां के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर से के विकास से जुड़ी परियोजनाओं के लिए इस्तेमाल ली जाएगी। फ्रेंड्स, हमारी आर्थिक साझेदारी को गति देने के लिए हमने कई कदम उठाए हैं। आपसी निवेश को गति देने के लिए हम शीघ्र ही बायलैटरल इन्वेस्टमेंट ट्रीटी फाइनलाइज करने की दिशा में काम करेंगे। फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट पर भी बातचीत शुरू हो गई है। अब हमारा लक्ष्य है फ्रॉम पेपर वर्क टू प्रॉस्पेरिटी। लोकल करेंसी सेटलमेंट सिस्टम से रुपये और रुपया में सीधे व्यापार कर सकेंगे। जिस रफ्तार से यूपीआई को मालदीव में बढ़ावा मिल रहा है, इससे टूरिज्म और रिटेल दोनों को ताकत मिलेगी। फ्रेंड्स, रक्षा और सुरक्षा क्षेत्र में आपसी सहयोग आपसी विश्वास का परिचायक है। रक्षा मंत्रालय की बिल्डिंग, जिसका आज उद्घाटन किया जा रहा है, यह ट्रस्ट की कंक्रीट इमारत है। हमारी मजबूत साझेदारी का प्रतीक है। हमारी साझेदारी अब वेदर साइंस में भी होगी। मौसम चाहे जैसा हो, आवर फ्रेंडशिप विल ऑलवेज रिमेन ब्राइट एंड क्लियर। मालदीव की रक्षा क्षमताओं के विकास में भारत निरंतर सहयोग देता रहेगा। हिंद महासागर क्षेत्र में शांति, स्थिरता और समृद्धि हमारा साझा लक्ष्य है। कोलंबो सिक्योरिटी कॉन्क्लेव में साथ मिलकर हम रीजनल मैरीटाइम सिक्योरिटी को मजबूत बनाएंगे। क्लाइमेट चेंज हम दोनों के लिए बड़ी चुनौती है। हमने तय किया है कि रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी को बढ़ावा देंगे। इस क्षेत्र में भारत अपना अनुभव मालदीव के साथ साझा करेगा। एक्सेलेंसी, एक बार फिर इस ऐतिहासिक अवसर पर मैं आपको और मालदीव के नागरिकों को बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं और गर्मजोशी भरे स्वागत के लिए आप सभी का धन्यवाद करता हूं। मैं आपको पुनः आश्वस्त करता हूं कि मालदीव के विकास और समृद्धि के लिए भारत हर कदम पर साथ रहेगा। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Engagements for today.
All right, that was President Muizu and Prime Minister Modi making their press statements after the delegation labs talks concluded. The Prime Minister, I'll tell you what the Prime Minister said first. He said, we are not just neighbors, we are co-travelers in the journey of development. He said India views Maldives as one of its closest neighbors, which is central to the neighborhood first policy of India and the Saga policy. He said it's a trusted partners. And he said that, for India, it's friendship first always. Then he gave examples of how India assisted Maldives in its development journey during COVID as first responders. India building social housing projects there, the greater Malay connectivity projects there, inter-island connectivity. So he spoke about the cooperation between India.
That's right. Host of development and connectivity projects, something that Prime Minister highlighted in his address. He particularly mentioned about the vision of comprehensive economic and maritime security partnership, a vision that was put forth, this was October 2024, Amrit, and Prime Minister said that this vision has been taken forward. There are more concrete steps being taken in that direction. Cooperation in the defense domain was something that Prime Minister highlighted. There's going to be a Ministry of Defense MOD building that will be inaugurated by the leaders in just a short while, built with India's assistance in weather, in climate, and host of other areas where the engagement is taken forward. Yes.
On that MOD building, can I quote what the Prime Minister said?
Yes.
He said it is a concrete institution of trust.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I think also in a great degree of symbolism there as well. In a significant diplomatic stride, India and Maldives have deepened their partnership with one another. Let me turn to Ambassador Veena Sikri, who continues to be with us. Ambassador Sikri, with what has been presented by both the leaders, what is your first reaction to the manner in which the relationship is being taken forward?
And before Ambassador Sikri answers that, can I just add in that, total of 4 MOUs and 3 agreements have been signed between the two sides. Very quickly, these MOUs there is an agreement for an LOC or line of credit of about 4,850 Indian rupees, crore Indian rupees. And then there is, they've gone on to amend an agreement on reducing the annual debt repayment obligations of Maldives.
I think we have the broad information about the details of the agreement as well. The critical sectors, including trade, finance, digital technology, fisheries, met, weather and public health are in focus, marking a new phase in the strategic collaboration. And the details, if you want to present, Amrit, here.
Yeah, so there is an agreement, as I was saying, on the line of credit of 4,850 crore Indian rupees to Maldives. Second, there's an amendatory agreement on reducing annual debt repayment obligations of Maldives, helping them basically ease their debt repayments on Government of India funded LOCs or lines of control. Then there's terms of reference of the India-Maldives Free Trade Agreement, which the Prime Minister also referred to in his talks. He says the talks on the FTA have started, so the TORs have been notified. The MOU on cooperation in the field of fisheries and aquaculture, and then there is a MOU between the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology in the Ministry of Earth and Sciences and their relevant ministry. And then there is a MOU on cooperation in the field of sharing successful digital solutions implemented at population scale for digital transformation between Ministry of Electronics, IT and their Homeland Security Ministry. And then there is a MOU on recognition of the Indian pharma copia that's by Maldives.
That's right. In pharmaceuticals, the cooperation is going to be taken forward. Network-to-network agreement between India's NPCI, International Payments Limited, and Maldives Monetary Authority on UPI in Maldives. So it's a great step forward for India's UPI and RuPay technology to be able to also deal in local currencies. As far as the agreement is concerned, let me welcome Dr. Smriti S. Patnaik, Research Fellow, MP IDSA, and Ambassador Veena Sikri continues to be with us. Ambassador Sikri, your first comments, ma'am. We see a sort of 360-degree energizing of relations. This is not just normalizing, but energizing of relations between India and Maldives. Your thoughts, ma'am?
This has been very significant because, as you said, it's totally comprehensive. It's broad-based. It's not left out any sector at all. But I think more than that, look at the confidence of spirit of friendship with which President Muizu and Prime Minister Modi spoke. That itself gave a great deal, it was a boost in itself. That, they've spoken so warmly, about referring to each other's friendship, about the importance of the agreement signed, about the significance of this visit. And even when President Muizu was speaking, he, the way he enlisted all the areas and how they're going to help Maldives greatly. How these sectors are going to play a great importance, beginning with the vehicle handover, the 72 vehicles are going to be for the National Defence Forces of Maldives. Then the TOR on the FTA is very important because, again, now this will go forward. And then Prime Minister Modi mentioned about the bilateral investment treaty also. They're going to work on that as well. And, the warmth with which Prime Minister Modi spoke about Maldives, that we are not just neighbours, we are co-passengers on the path of development, and we are going to cooperate in every area. And, the rescheduling of the debt repayment, that is also very important for Maldives because we know they are facing a lot of economic problems. President Muizu spoke very warmly about the agreement on export of essential commodities from Maldives, from India to Maldives. And this is very important for them because a number of very important essential commodities are they have been given special facilities for export from India to Maldives, and this is something that the Maldives people value a lot. And I think that the fintech agreement, the digital technology and the cooperation between the UPI, RuPay and the Maldives Monetary Authority, I think this will set a very steady basis for the continued interaction because the settlement will be in the respective currencies. So this area that that Maldives will not have to spend foreign currency, and Indians also when going there can use their UPI cards etc. for making payments. This is so valuable because it makes Maldives doubly attractive. Not only is it a neighboring country, travel is short, and it's a beautiful country you want to visit, but the payments will be so much facilitated that it will help everybody. The contribution of 4,000 housing units is very significant because it's a distinct help to the people of Maldives in their agreement. And the currency swap facility is going to be to the extent of $400 million, which Maldives considers very substantial for them and for their people. I think that this whole listing of the agreements by both leaders has been done in such a spirit of warmth and goodwill and friendship that it really sets the tone for new vistas and new strengths to be developed in the India-Maldives cooperation. And I think that this has been very special for Maldives and for India. Our Prime Minister congratulated the people of Maldives and President Muizu on their 60th independence anniversary, and saying that we are going to be there with you, by you, for you, and we're going to work together, growing from strength to strength in every succeeding year. So I think that both sides have great reason to be satisfied with the outcomes of the talks and the specific agreements that have been signed, the MOUs and the others. And I think that this has set the basis definitely for a strong growth and a growth based on mutual trust between the two countries.
Okay. Let me bring in Dr. Smruti Patnaik from the IDSA. Dr. Patnaik, of all the agreements that have been signed today, we listed them out. Do you think, the agreement, especially on cooperation in terms of, strengthening their fisheries and aquaculture, could be a very significant, agreement, given the fact that we have the technology and they have the fish?
I think it is very significant if you take into account, the Maldives economy, what actually is the main constituent of the economy. Tourism is one aspect of the economy, and Maldives economy is looking really good in terms of, the post-COVID challenges which Maldives had. The tourism sector has really seen a growth, and therefore India's advantage and India's strength is agriculture. All these technologies which you have been mentioning. I think that actually the fishery, because Maldives' main export to the world is fishery, especially, tuna and other fishes which Maldives keep on exporting to different part of the world. So I think, that is a niche sector. That is a sector which actually where India can really lend his hand and see that this sector sees a growth, because that is the main constituent of Maldives export items. So I think it is going to be very, very significant. Apart from that, as Madam Sikri was also mentioning, the UPI, introduction of the UPI and currency swap facility is also one of the facility which India also has extended to all its neighbors. Like, for example, I remember you were mentioning that this time, the debt repayment which Maldives is going to give back to India some of the money, which India had extended at the time of the crisis. That is something India has phased it out. I think that is also because when your economy is growing and at the same time you're phasing out this debt repayment, it actually helps the country's economy, because you are not spending the entire money that you are earning through your exports to pay back the debt you have. So I think that actually is a very significant step on India's part to see that Maldives economy really grows.
Right. Dr. Patnaik, Shubhendu here. I want to spend some time talking about what the Prime Minister mentioned about how India and Maldives, they released a stamp together and shows boats and their maritime cultures, and how India is a fellow traveler, co-passenger, however we may interpret what he said. Now, I remember that when Prime Minister was in Ghana last month, during earlier, a few weeks ago, during his multiple nations visit, he'd also used a similar phrase that India is a fellow traveler. That's how it sort of articulates its development partnership with the countries. How significant is to emphasize this point, and what kind of message does it send out within Maldives and to the world outside, the manner in which India also engages with its partner countries in the global south?
See, India's mostly the aid policy which India has accepted, adopted as a kind of policy. We don't use the word, aid. We use the word partnership, because partnership is something which actually provides the other country a kind of equal stake in any kind of development the country wants to make. So a role of a partner is always very, very different. So therefore, when you say, we are fellow travelers, so in that sense, you are in fact addressing the other country as sovereign equal to you, traveling, in terms of your growth trajectory, traveling in terms of bringing prosperity to your people. So therefore, this usage of terminology is not just significant, but it also signifies how India looks at its bilateral relationship with the country. So here, I would say that though the size of Maldives is much smaller, but when you refer to a neighboring country as a partner, as a fellow traveler, so you are in fact giving them the kind of equal stature. So when you are
Dr. Patnaik, I also asked this question. I also asked this question in the context of a certain strain that was there in the relations between India and Maldives earlier, and how this sort of phrase addresses the very fundamental concerns about what kind of relationship exists between the two countries, India and Maldives.
Yeah, because if you remember when Muizu came, he came in the background of certain issues, the India Out program, and at that point of time, many people thought probably the bilateral relation may take a long period to really, to really go forward in terms of the kind of position that point of time President Muizu had taken. But India has very steadily, very slowly has engaged Maldives. It has not reacted to the policies prior to the election which Muizu had propagated. I think that actually has kept India in a very good state in terms of the bilateral relationship. So Maldives has been a very, very significant partner of India, especially the FTA which you have been talking about. Maldives already has an FTA with China. Its FTA with India has been lagging behind for quite some time. So this actually will help the two countries to improve their bilateral trade basket, I would say.
All right. Let me bring in Ambassador Sikri here. Ambassador Sikri, if, as Dr. Patnaik was saying, they already have an FTA with China. You are yet to, you've just notified the TORs or the terms of reference. Does this need to be speeded up, and this was, is that why this was made as a part of the formal agreements that were signed today?
Yeah, there is an history of signing FTAs with our neighboring countries because there has been a SAFTA, there's a South Asia Free Trade Agreement, but we all know that it doesn't work at all, and the implementation is very difficult. And as against that, we know that with Sri Lanka we signed a very successful FTA, and that is working well, and it's an example to be shown to the other countries. I know that in Bangladesh they were, we used to keep talking about the Sri Lankan example and encouraging them to look at that, because India has found, and we've seen now even globally, India has found that multilateral FTAs don't really benefit India because there's so many loopholes that one or the other, like the India-ASEAN FTA, there's so many loopholes that country of origin rules are broken and products from China just come into India in a big way. So we are going now down the route of bilateral FTAs. We just, as you know, Prime Minister Modi was in London and very successfully concluded a bilateral FTA with the UK. And that is supposed to have, I think, the way in which that FTA has been framed, the benefits to both countries are enormous, and it will lead to a doubling or tripling of bilateral trade. It has the potential to double or triple bilateral trade within the next 5 to 6 years. So I think that similarly with our neighboring countries too, we are very much we do prefer the route of the bilateral FTA. The TORs have been, it takes time. It's USA, with the UK, the bilateral
FTA.
It
took about 10 years, yeah.
Association. So similarly with it doesn't matter if it's taking time, but while we're doing the FTA, we're doing simultaneously progress on individual products, like the fish processing plant that is coming up, which is going to be of great benefit to Maldives, because this being their most important sector, and the modern technology will be supplied by India on that. And similarly, the supply of vehicles, the LOC or the line of credit, all these things are going ahead, it is just, and the agreement on export of essential commodities from India to Maldives. So all these are going ahead. It's not being held up because there is no FTA. The FTA is an added value, but you have to carry both countries along, and Maldives, being the smaller economy, will obviously have its own concerns, and it doesn't matter if it takes time, but simultaneously the other issues are going ahead. They are being worked on, and individual products, individual infrastructure, equipment is all being worked on, and similarly on whether it's the meteorological sector or the meteorological services or tourism, all these are going ahead. The financial, the fintech agreements, the digital technology cooperation on that is very significant because it gives you an actual means of payment, the currency swap facility. All these things are going on. These will eventually come together in an FTA, where all these things will be put together in one document to give the full picture. But what I'm trying to say is that I don't think a delay in concluding of the FTA is holding up in any way the cooperation between India and Maldives.
Okay. Dr. Smriti, prior to you joining in, Ambassador Sikri was mentioning about how how radicalization of the populace there is an area of concern. We didn't see that reflect in any of the statements made by the Prime Minister or the President. But how significant is that concern for India, given that Maldives is right next to us?
Radicalism has been a major concern for India, not just concerning Maldives, but also concerning some other neighbors where radicalism has grown over the period of time. In the context of Maldives, if you remember, many Maldivians had gone and joined the ISIS long time back. Some of them, they were brought in. There was a de-radicalization program which was adopted by Maldives to see that these people who have gone out and are radicalized actually are rehabilitated. So I think in the context of the bilateral issues, I think it is radicalism definitely yes, but when the radicalism turn into a kind of terrorism and get into the international network where it could emerge as a threat. But terrorism is also one of the issues which is a matter of concern for both the countries. Perhaps given the domestic political context in Maldives, perhaps this is a particular context, particular words have not been used in terms of radicalism and terrorism. Because Maldives has seen, the growth of radicalism in Maldives was very much visible, given the religious political parties who have been very supportive of Muizu at one point of time. So that remains a major concern. But I think probably given the sensitivities and all, when you are taking small steps and moving towards the larger vision the two countries bilaterally have, perhaps.
And the program Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam, Prime Minister Narendra Modi alongside President Mohammad Muizu planting a tree in capital of Maldives, Male. Those visuals of President Muizu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi planting a tree each under the program Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam, initiated by Prime Minister Modi. Those visuals coming in from Male, Maldives.
It's actually, a part of experience sharing. I mean, though it may be just ceremonial that the Prime Minister plants a sapling or a tree somewhere, and that's to mark his visit, and they later put a plaque. But Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam, the program that he started, a movement that he's tried to start in India, where you can address environmental concerns if your population goes, remembers their mother, and puts this thing with, it has a great emotional incentive to it. He's experienced sharing it with the Maldivians, saying, that's how I motivate my people. You could go the same route.
Absolutely. And I think it's very significant outreach also to partner countries. We know earlier King Charles III also planted a tree.
The sapling.
Taking forward this mission. Prime Minister taking one tree at a time. Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam achieves another as it were, milestone here in Male, Maldives. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Mohammad Muizu together planting a sapling take forward the mission of Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam. It roughly translates in English into planting a tree in the name of your mother, remembering your mother. A lot of personal, emotional touch, and also a message for the environment. Ambassador Sikri, more than symbolism, a message of environment and emotional connect being taken forward here?
That this program that Prime Minister Modi has inaugurated, Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam, this is a very important methodology for involving the community in environmental issues, in preserving the environment and in tackling climate change. Because otherwise, governments and scientists, they're always talking about climate change, and they always have big macro projects at the governmental level for this purpose. But actually the implementation of these projects depends on involvement of the community, depends on involvement of people at the grassroots level. And unless that happens, and I would say here that particularly the women's community, they play a very big role in environmental issues because they are the ones who are dealing with it every day. Water collection is done by the women, fuel collection is done by the women, food making of the food is done by the women, choosing of the food products, purchasing of the vegetables, all that. So all this means that unless you involve them in this issue and explain to them the importance of everyone planting a tree in the memory of their respective mothers, this is connecting the past and the future, you know. You are sort of telling them that, look, remember your ancestors, they were so much better than us on climate change and environmental issues, and let us take their traditional memory and their traditional knowledge and take it, apply it today to benefit the future generations. So I think that it's a very, very well developed program, very well thought out. And as you said, even in London, King Charles was presented a sapling also under this program.
Dr. Patnaik, your thoughts, ma'am, also if you bring in the subject of climate change and cooperation in that domain. There was also reference to India's chairing of the COP meeting in the coming year, and the manner in which India and Maldives could work together. I mean, being an island country, the particular vulnerabilities that Maldives experiences, which India has spoken about on global platforms.
Challenge for Maldives. So not long time back when President Nasheed was the president of Maldives at that point of time, he took that underwater kind of meeting to emphasize how Maldives is getting affected because of the climate change and the rising level of the sea. India actually has been championing the cause of this climate change, and also, like for example, the International Solar Alliance, of which India is a part, again, you know, goes in that direction of the green energy transition that that India has been emphasizing. But perhaps in the context of bilateralism, India can think of, you know, the wind energy is one of the aspects, again, you know, that also will mean transition to the green energy, because when you speak of the climate change, these are small steps which the government can take to address the climatic, you know, implications of the kind of gadget we use, electricity, how we are producing the electricity. So in that context, I think this particular effort which we saw, planting of the tree, is a symbolic of what India wants. So therefore, climate is one issue which is very close to the Maldives' heart, and I think India probably this is one sphere where the two countries can work together, can you know, see that the larger issue of the green energy and all is implemented for the benefit of the people of both the countries.
Right. Okay. Ambassador Sikri, this one point about that Prime Minister mentioned in his intervention about providing the development support to the islands of Maldives to help them develop as important transit points, as economic hubs. As such infrastructure comes up, how do you also see the significance of Maldives as its position, as its geostrategic position in the ocean, and India-Maldives relations taking a new turn?
I think the geostrategic situation of Maldives is very, very important. We attach the highest importance to this because we know that Maldives has a very big role to play in our Mahasagar program, and also in all aspects of maritime security. Anything that we want to do in the Indian Ocean, visiting ships, we do know always when these Chinese research vessels want to visit, they've always tried to get a parking slot or a stopping facility, Sri Lanka, Maldives, and so on. So all these issues are very important to us. So I think that the geostrategics of Maldives is beyond compare. It's a small country, small population, but the string of islands and the exclusive economic zone that makes it, a much bigger in its influence and impact than its size and population would suggest. And that is why I think the outcome of this visit and the way in which, the friendly manner in which Prime Minister Modi has been received and the significance of the agreements that have been signed are really very valuable, because I think it's a great message to the people of Maldives that in Maldives, on the occasion of the 60th independence anniversary, our Prime Minister is a selected foreign guest, the first ever foreign guest, and he has signed these important agreements of direct benefit. Now, you know, because it's a string of islands, each individual island is like almost a story into itself, you know. Communication between islands in Maldives is one of the most expensive and most difficult things to organize. I know I've been there several times on various conferences, and just to travel from an island where you may be staying to Malé for arrival, departure, it's very expensive. Could be up to $50 for a journey, you know. So that is why the need to develop the individual islands and provide them with the facilities that will make them self-contained, that will make their communities self-contained with full development, schools, hospitals.
But Ambassador, why is it so expensive to travel between islands?
Because the cost of petrol, the cost of diesel, you know, it's so expensive, just even a small journey. Then the boat or the vessel has to come from Mali to pick you up, because they're not stationed at the various islands. You know, they're not stationed there, but if you want to travel, you have to call the boat, it'll come from there, pick you up and then take you back. So you're paying really for two ways, you know, when you're traveling one way.
Oh, they haven't developed the docking infrastructure, you're saying?
No, you know, these islands are so small. You know, for example, when you stay on an island resort, it is so small. There's no place for docking. There is a little bit of a dock, informal, but you can't have, because the people who come and stay on these resorts, they've come for a holiday. They want exclusivity. They don't want interference. They want to be left alone. So, you know, nobody really docks there. Nobody stays there. You just go there and you stay there. The vessel that has docked you there, the boat goes back. There's nobody parked there, and all the facilities are self-contained within that island. So communication and connectivity is really important. In fact, do you know that from the airport to some of the distant islands where there are resorts, even seaplanes are used. Special seaplane facilities are available. You sometimes travel by by air to get to the place where you are going to be staying. If it's very far away from the international airport where you've landed, it's going to take you more than an hour or an hour and a half by sea. Then you might as well take a 15 or 20-minute seaplane ride. So all this is there. Maldives has very special and very unique communication and infrastructure problems. And India is meeting those problems by focusing on the high impact community development projects. And as I said, although last year in 2023 and 24 there was a sharp dip, but now they have revived again. We are
all right, Ambassador. Can I please stop you for a moment here? This is the Prime Minister Prime Minister Modi along with President Moizu visiting some kind of a healthcare facility, which the Indian...
It looks like the Bhishma setup. These are compact health service providing setups. We've seen them in action earlier as well. And here Prime Minister Narendra Modi providing that Bhishma health setups to Maldives in order to also boost their own health infrastructure. These are very significant.
These are small capsules in which you can, perform surgeries, etc.
That's right. Also, very effective in the nature in which they are mobile. They can be installed at different places across islands. So an important step forward for Maldives' health infrastructure. India's indigenous Bhishma health setups being provided to Maldives to take forward their insights into health and well-being for the population in Maldives. Those visuals of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Mohammad Muizzu together inspecting the manner in which the Bhishma setups work in the form of a small capsule or a tent. State-of-the-art health facility can be provided at various locations at short notice. Prime Minister Narendra Modi in conversation with President Mohammad Muizzu, host of development projects that India has made available to Maldives. Here another one in the health infrastructure. Prime Minister Narendra Modi sharing the technology of
in fact,
Bhishma health setups with Maldives.
That's right. In fact, Shibindu, when President Muizzu was speaking at that press statement, was giving his press statement, he did list this out, saying that India's role in the healthcare sector, especially that it has played in both in social housing and in the healthcare sector, he lauded that. You provide them with a lot of pharmaceuticals, etc., which is a part of your trade, but you do provide assistance in terms of or cooperation in the healthcare sector.
That's right. This is after the delegation-level talks and press statements by Prime Minister Modi and President Muizzu. We see a host of projects being exchanged. Medical facility of Maldives will now get the power of Bhishma. Prime Minister Modi is gifting Bhishma cubes, these are called, to Maldives. Built under India's Arogya Maitri program. Bhishma Cube is a modular, self-sufficient healthcare unit meant to serve any place that lacks immediate medical infrastructure, especially for primary healthcare. This could be hugely transformative.
So going back to the two leaders, when they were addressing the press, they were talking about how the two countries, especially India, assisting Maldives with their infrastructure development, be it social housing, be it in the healthcare sector. The Prime Minister and the President will jointly inaugurate a building of the Ministry of Defence in a little while, which is being built with Indian assistance. But Maldives is witnessing a landmark moment in its infrastructure development. The Greater Malay Connectivity Project, which the two leaders referred to in their press statements, is being built by India's Afcons Infrastructure Limited, and it is the largest ever infrastructure project in the island nation and a game changer for regional connectivity. Take a look at this report.
1,000 islands, but the main islands where the tourists are attracted is all near the Malé, which is the capital of the country. India, as we all know it, is a major part of the constructions and the projects that are going on and that have been completed in Malé. Behind me, if you see, this particular project is named as the Greater Malay Connectivity Project, and it's a 6.74 kilometer long bridge that is being constructed by India, and it will be the largest in Maldives. Let's go and see what's the speciality of this bridge.
The Greater Malay Connectivity Project is the largest ever infrastructure project in the island nation and a game changer for regional connectivity. The 6.7 kilometers long bridge and causeway network will link the capital Malé with Velingili, Gulifalu and the industrial island of Thilafushi, ushering in a new era of seamless travel across the key islands. 3 major navigation bridges, each 140 meters long, will span deep water channels.
This bridge helps joining the Malay capital to Velingili, Velingili to Gulipalu, and Gulipalu to Thilapushi, Thilapushi the industrial hub. It benefits Maldives in better.
The project also includes 1.41 kilometers of marine viaduct, 2.32 kilometers of shallow waters, and nearly 3 kilometers of at-grade roads.
This project, we worked in deep waters, which are the maximum of about 55 meter depth, and we have done piling up to 122 meter long, and pile diameters of 2.6 meter diameter. And in the conditions, in rough weather conditions, we have completed the piling in this project.
With segments weighing over 240 tons, the project is also leading the way in smart mobility, with signalized junctions and solar-powered lighting integrated into its design.
Once the Greater Malé Connectivity Project is completed, it will transform daily life by making travel easier, trade smoother, and opportunities more accessible across islands. This bridge is not just concrete and steel, it's a symbol of India-Maldives friendship, a bridge of trust and progress and shared dreams. With camera person Aniket Dubey, this is Shama Mishra for DD India, Malé, Maldives.
Right now we take you across live to the Ministry of External Affairs.